Good morning, students. In the last video, we have learnt about parts of speech, how many parts of speech are there, and what each parts of speech is. We have learnt all those things. Today, it's going to be second video on parts of speech. In this video, we're going to learn about nouns and pronouns. Let me introduce myself. I am C.G. Lakshmi Prasad, Assistant Professor of English, working at Government Degree College, Atmakur, Vanaparthi district. Yes. So as I told you, it's going to be the second video on parts of speech. And in this video, we are going to learn in detail about nouns and pronouns. So in the last video, we have learned that there are 8 kinds of parts of speech or classes of English words. So words are divided into different kinds of classes called parts of speech according to their use, that is according to the work they do in a sentence. And this you must understand. Okay, we cannot tell in isolation any word that it is a pronoun or it is an adjective, it's a verb. It may differ from sentence to sentence depending upon its function. It can be a pronoun, it can be an adjective, it can be a verb as well, it can be an adverb as well. So even preposition, it changes depending upon the function it does in the sentence. So let us go forward. So today we are going to learn about nouns and how nouns can be categorized and what are they. A noun is a part of speech that identifies a person, place, thing, quality, concept, idea, emotion, thought, or anything that exists. Usually, we say that it's a name of a place, or person, or thing. Not only these three, even a quality, concept, idea, and if we use them as a noun, okay, idea, that is abstract noun, emotions, thought, or anything that exists. There are different kinds of nouns basing different criteria. So, basing on different criteria, we can divide nouns into different kinds. The first one is common nouns, proper nouns. So, common nouns, when we say common nouns, we have to learn about proper nouns. Then abstract nouns, concrete nouns. What is an abstract noun? What is a concrete noun? Collective nouns, compound nouns. Then countable nouns, uncountable nouns. And there are many, as even we can speak of gender, masculine, feminine, common, neuter. 4 kinds of genders also are there, but we are not going to do it in this video, maybe later. Next one, what is a common noun? Let us try to understand what is a common noun. So common noun can be defined as a common noun refers to a general class of person, place, or object. For example, city, state, person, player, book, ball. Then why is it called a common noun? A common noun means, suppose if I say Prasad, Prasad refers to only one person. Whereas if I say teacher, teacher, there are so many teachers. And those so many people can be called with just one name, that is teacher. So common name means a common name for many people. It is like in mathematics, if we say one to many relation. If we in relations, one to many relations. Suppose you see here is an example city. We know what a city means, but this city can refer to Hyderabad, Bangalore, Chennai, Delhi, Kolkata, Mumbai, and many more cities in the world. Not just these cities, many more cities, hundreds, thousands of cities are there in the world, and all those thousands of cities can be referred to with just one letter, one word, that is city. Suppose if we say boy, so many boys are there, crores of boys in the world, and all those crores of boys can be referred with just one word, that is boy, and even girl, class, okay, room, village, okay, all these are common nouns. So common nouns means it can refer to a general class, not general person, general, in general, common, in common. It can be a person, it can be a place, or it can be object. If we say a rock, if we say doll, so many dolls are there. Okay, anything that we can classify them as a doll can be called as doll. Anything that we call a tablet, it can be called as a tablet. But there are so many tablets are there, and each tablet has its own name. If it is has, if it is referred to by its own name, then we can say that it's a proper noun. But when it comes to, common noun, it can refer to many things. It can refer to many things. That's why in mathematical, this one we can say one to many, one to many relation, one to many relation. So one name can refer to many things, one name can refer to many things. That is the idea behind saying common noun. Let's go to proper noun. So proper noun means it is against to common noun. Common noun is one to many, but whereas a proper noun is one to one relation. Suppose you say Hyderabad, Hyderabad means only one. There may be other Hyderabad also. In Pakistan also there is one Hyderabad, but when we mean Hyderabad, we mean that the one which is in Telangana. Suppose if we say Ramnagar, there may be so many Ramnagars. There may be so many, but listener understands which Ramnagar we mean, and listener understands which Hyderabad we mean. If we say Rama, listener knows which Rama he means, the speaker means. So it is one to one relation. Whereas if we say city, then the immediately ask which city. But whereas if we say Hyderabad, he may not ask which Hyderabad unless he has in his mind even Hyderabad in Pakistan. Otherwise, he is very clear. He is very clear. If we say Warangal, he is very clear about which city we are speaking about. So a proper noun refers to a specific person, not general class. It is a specific person, specific place, specific object, etc. For example, Hyderabad means we know, Telangana means we know, Chiranjeevi means we know. It's the name of a person. Sachin Tendulkar, we know who he is, and we don't have any confusion. If we say Amitabh Bachchan, we have no confusion. If we say Modi, there is no confusion. If we say KCR, there is no confusion. Immediately, we get to that one-to-one relation. One-to-one relation is established immediately, so there is no issue. Whereas if it comes to common noun, there is an issue. Immediately, we have to ask which one. If we say I met a girl, which girl? I saw a boy, which boy? I saw a snake, which snake? I saw a dog, which dog? Immediately. But if you have a pet dog in your house and you have a name to that, suppose if the name of the dog is Rocky, then you say Rocky means you don't have any confusion. Okay, so Rocky becomes a proper noun, whereas dog becomes common noun. Understand? And proper nouns are always written with a capital letter at the beginning, and even if it comes at the in the middle of the sentence. Okay, proper noun, even if it is in the middle of the sentence, the rule is that it should be capitalized. It should be capitalized. Not all the letters, the first letter should be capital. And the proper nouns are sometimes used as a common nouns. I told you while we were discussing about tenses, proper nouns are sometimes used as a common nouns. How? He is a Sachin Tendulkar of our college, and actually we are not referring to Sachin Tendulkar, we are referring to the qualities of Sachin Tendulkar. So here Sachin Tendulkar means what we mean here, Sachin Tendulkar is best player. So what we want to say, he is the best player of our college. So here Sachin Tendulkar is not actually proper noun, but we are making it a common noun. So here there is a meaning. There is a meaning, whereas it doesn't actually refer to the person. It refers to the qualities of the person. In the same way, Kalidasa is often called the Shakespeare of India. That means the greatest dramatist. Shakespeare is considered as the greatest dramatist in the world. And even in India, we have many such writers, and Kalidasa is considered as the greatest. In fact, He is older than Shakespeare. He belongs to first century, whereas Shakespeare belongs to 16th century. Surely Kalidasa is better than Shakespeare, because almost 1600 years gap, but still he has written so many dramas. Okay, so surely Kalidasa is the best dramatist, but still for our convenience, because Shakespeare is well known in the world and Kalidasa may be well known in India, and if you want to say who is Kalidasa to a foreigner, then we say Kalidasa is the Shakespeare of India. So that what we mean is that the greatest dramatist. But actually, Kalidasa is not Shakespeare. We are just referring to his qualities. So in that way, some proper nouns can be made common nouns. Even there are some like some other examples also are there, and you can we will discuss later. Then abstract noun. So I told you this is a different category. Common noun, proper noun is one category. Then abstract noun and concrete noun is another category. What is abstract noun? Abstract noun refers to things that can't be detected through our five senses. Such things can't be seen, heard, smelled, tasted, touched, and we have five sensory organs. So usually we perceive things through these five sensory organs, but some things we cannot perceive through these five sensory organs, and we can perceive only through our understanding. Such words cannot be seen, and we cannot see with our eyes. We cannot hear with our ears. We cannot smell with our nose. We cannot taste with our tongue. We cannot touch with our hands. But still, they exist in the world. They exist in our mind, and they have their own names. So they are called nouns. They are nouns, and such nouns are called abstract nouns. Abstract nouns name an idea. It can be an idea, can be a moment, it can be a quality, or it can be a concept. For example, beauty. What is beauty? Can you actually see? You can see a beautiful person. You can see a person and you call that she is beautiful. But actually, beauty is an idea, and whom you consider is beautiful may not be beautiful to some other person. And we say, we have a saying in Telugu, Kaki pilla kakiki muddu aninda. That means for every mother, his child is beautiful. However it may be, however the child may be, but still mother consider its child as very beautiful. But it is not the same. All the people may not consider. So beauty is something that exists in our mind, and there are so many such um, proverbs in Telugu, like తాను మెచ్చినదే రంభ. That means, and there is even in English also there are such sayings like eyes behold the beauty. It differs from person to person. What you think is beautiful may not be beautiful to others. So it is only a concept. It is only an idea. And you consider something beautiful. You consider something very nice. You consider something very, it looks very beautiful. It may not be. It is not the same. It differs. Whereas if it comes to concrete nouns, it is not that. If you say it is very hard, it is hard to everybody. Okay, or if you say it has he is 6 feet 6 feet tall, and it is true everywhere. Okay, and if you say he's so that physical something, if you say about physical qualities, it is always true. It is always true. But whereas when it comes to beauty, curiosity, even love, happiness, knowledge, wisdom, health. Suppose you say, my daughter is very intelligent girl, and it may not be so to her teacher. Her teacher may not consider her as an intelligent girl, but father always considers her daughters as intelligent. But it is not so. And if you say he is a healthy person, you say I am a healthy person. Only doctor has to certify. And even from the doctor, it differs from doctor to doctor. One doctor says you are okay, you are healthy, and another person say you have some problems and you need to take some treatment. Okay, it differs from person to person. So it is it's arbitrary. So these are all these nouns, such nouns can be considered as abstract nouns, and abstract nouns can be formed. We can do it. I mean, we can form from other parts of speech, like from adjectives. Kindness, kind is adjective. We say he is a kind, she is a kind woman, and kindness is noun. Kind is adjective, kindness is noun. But we cannot see kindness with our five sensory organs. It is only an idea. And honesty, we say he is an honest man. Honest is adjective, but honesty is again noun, and which we cannot see with our eyes, or we can perceive with our five sensory organs. Bravery comes from brave. Brave is adjective, bravery is noun, and all these nouns are considered as abstract nouns. And even from verbs also we can form abstract nouns, like obedience. Obey. Okay, you have to obey your teachers. Obey is verb, whereas obedience is noun, abstract. And obedience, we don't know what is obedience. And like in Telangana, ni banchandora, is it obedience? It's not that. Now the times have changed. Okay, you don't need to fall on anybody's feet to show your obedience. Okay, is different, totally different. It differs from time to time, but surely there is obedience. Okay, suppose you say you have to listen to your parents, you have to respect your parents. When your parents say something, you have to obey their orders. When teachers say something, you have to obey their orders, but it doesn't mean that you have to fall on the feet of the teacher or fall on the feet of your dora. You don't need to do that, but still there is a kind of obedience which still exists. And the growth comes from grow. Okay, so growth again is abstract one, because it is a concept. We cannot say it is growth. For example, economical growth. And some ruling party says that India is developing very fast and there is a very fast growth, but whereas opposition says that there is no growth at all because of this party. Okay, so again it is arbitrary, and we don't know which one is growth and which one is not growth. So it again becomes abstract noun. Then, because there is no yardstick as such to say it is called growth and it is not called as growth. But surely there is growth is universal phenomena. Development is universal phenomena. Okay, so but we cannot actually say which one is development and which one is growth, which one is not development and which one is not growth. Then common nouns, even from common nouns also, we can make abstract, like childhood. Child is a common noun. We can say childhood. Slavery, from slave, he is a slave, and slavery should be abandoned. Slavery needs to be abandoned, and slavery still exists in the minds of people. See, such things, very, we cannot see what actually slavery is. I never used to understand what slavery when I was in childhood, because we have no such I never brought up in such circumstances. But many people in the villages know what slavery is. Still some children are, they're working in they're working in houses, city houses, as a helpers, and they are not paid, and the parents get payment. And so many such things we see with our eyes now, and we know what actually slavery is. And in America, there was so much of slavery, and people were kidnapped from Africa, and because of this only there were so many black people in the America. Okay, still they are suffering because of this slavery. But though slavery is abandoned, still no, some white people consider them as superior, and black people needs to be under their control. Such things exist in the minds of some people, not all, some people. Even in Telangana also there was so much of slavery, but still people, they have their it in minds, even in the downtrodden and upper caste people. Upper caste people think that we are superior, and downtrodden people, poor people think that we are not superior, we are still inferior. We have to respect the upper caste people. So even that idea itself is, we can consider it as a slavery. And there is so much of discussion when it comes to slavery or when it comes to childhood. Usually this discussion comes only with abstract nouns. It doesn't come with common noun. It doesn't, there is no discussion if I say this is a pen. And everybody agrees it is a pen. If I say this is slavery, nobody agrees. And some people will say, no, no, it is not slavery at all. So usually this discussion, debate arises only with the concepts, abstract nouns. Okay. Then the name of arts, sciences are also abstract nouns. Even all the subjects you study, like, physics, chemistry, mathematics, political science, history, because they are not something that you can see. They are only concepts like grammar, music, chemistry. All these subjects are only ideas. Okay, they are actually interdisciplinary courses, we say, interconnected. Suppose physics is connected to mathematics, mathematics is connected to physics, and chemistry is connected to mathematics. So they depend on one another. Even if you take physics, physics depends on even history, because historical physics has to be understood. Okay, historical chemistry, like that, everything is connected to another thing. But there is, slight differences, and we make it, okay, this is called physics, this is called, but there is nothing which we can see with our eyes. Okay, they are only concepts, they are only concepts. So even they are considered as abstract nouns. Then concrete noun, what is concrete? It is opposite to um, you know abstract noun. Abstract nouns cannot be seen, cannot be heard with our five sensory organs, whereas we can see, we can feel, we can touch, we can feel the weight, height, breadth, all those things with our five sensory organs, we can perceive them. So concrete nouns refers to things that can be recognized through our senses. It can be recognized through our senses. These things can be seen, we can see them, we can hear them, we can smell them, we can taste them, we can touch them. Maybe, if not all, at least through one or two. For five reason, for one or two sensory organs, we can perceive them. It's not necessary that we have to do all these five sensory organs. So maybe some objects may not have any smell at all. Okay, we cannot smell. Okay, that doesn't mean that it is an abstract, but we can see, we can touch. Okay, some things cannot be touched. For example, air, is it abstract or concrete? We cannot see air. Okay, if it is fresh air, if it is a pure air, we cannot see. And if it is pure, you cannot even smell, you cannot even taste, you cannot even hear. If it is very quiet and calm, you cannot hear, and you cannot touch, is it? But you can still feel the presence of air. You can still feel the presence of air. There is one poem, Wind. Okay, when it blows, you can feel that there is a rumbling of leaves, and you can feel that. You cannot actually see. Then air is not abstract, it is concrete. You can feel it, you can feel its existence. Okay, we are not very sure with which five sensory organs we can feel, but surely we feel. If it is, if suppose if you are in a room where there is no air, you immediately feel suffocation, and you know that there is no air, even though you cannot see. Even all the lights are put off, you immediately feel the absence of air, and you immediately feel, I want to breathe, I cannot breathe, I can't breathe. There is no air. So maybe through our breathing we can understand. There is sixth sense also as well. We were talking about sixth sense. So with that sixth sense, we can feel that there is no air or there is air. So it is again concrete noun. And concrete nouns refers to physical objects that have mass, and it should have mass. It should have weight. Even air has weight, and the presence of air in the tides is measured with weight. Okay, so there are, like number of examples. There is no need of giving examples at all, and you can very easily understand what a concrete noun is. Ball, water, glass, bridge, pen, school, building. These are all concrete nouns. Then let's go to collective noun. Collective nouns means Usually we say that every object, every person, everything has a name. In the same way, some collective things gets a name. Suppose if you have, flowers, okay, like a couple of some 15 to 20 flowers which you want to gift somebody. What do you call? You call it a bouquet of flowers. Okay, bouquet of flowers. So bouquet becomes a collective noun. So collective noun refers to a group of people. It can be a group of people, animals, or things treated as a single unit. It is treated as, and we use article A. Okay. Example: army, family, fleet. Family means one person cannot be a family. One person cannot become an army. We say one man army. Okay, so as to emphasize, so as to make it heroic. We say one man army. But army means there should be more than one. At least a group of people becomes army. And the fleet means again there should be group, bunch, team. And here I have some examples of brought. There are so many examples, and thousands of these collective nouns are there. You can collect them. Okay, it will be it's a fun. If you go to Google, uh, there are thousands of collective nouns and very funny as well. And we sometimes wonder why this is called a school of fish. If a group of fish are there, we call it a school of fish. It's very interesting. Why it is called school? No, well, we don't know. Maybe we have to go back to the etymology of the word. Etymology means a history of the words, how words have come into existence. It will be very interesting. You can Google it instead of googling so many unwanted things. You can Google such things and you can learn. A pack of wolves. If there is a group of wolves, it is called a pack of wolves. A bouquet of flowers, a crew of sailors, a band of robbers, a galaxy of stars, a herd of cattle, a troop of lions, an army of ants, a pack of cards. See, a pack of wolves, a pack of cards, same thing. And like that, so many are there. Okay, like a herd of cattle, a herd of cows, a herd of something. So many animals are used, with the help of herd. A swarm of bees, a swarm of bees. You see, ants, an army of ants. Very interesting. So such interesting words if you Google, you find so many such interesting words, and you really enjoy them, and you can use them as well, and you really enjoy. Let's go to compound noun. Compound noun is again very interesting, and sometimes it's very confusing, and even I get confused. Okay, why? I'll tell you what is a compound noun. First, we'll see. Compound noun is found by the combination of two or more words, and at least there should be two words. It can be more than two words as well. Okay, and it becomes one unit. One unit. That's called a compound noun. For example, let us see mother-in-law. See, in mother-in-law, there is hyphen between the three words. There are three words, mother-in-law, but there are two hyphens. School bus, there is no hyphen, there is a space. Bedroom, there is no space, there is no hyphen. It is, they are brought together. It became a single word. Bed is different word, room is different word, bedroom is different word. School bus, school is one word, bus is one word, but when they're brought together, it becomes a different word. Mother-in-law, mother-in-law. So compound nouns can be written three ways. So in the same way, three examples you can see. One is a single word. It becomes a single word. Two words brought together and they are joined together. And there is no space, there is no hyphen, and they are just put together. Haircut, toothpaste. And so many such examples are there. Just have two examples I've given you, and so many examples. And two words. Now it can be a two words, two different words, and there is a space. Like rainforest, ice cream. Okay, there is no hyphen as such. And sometimes we get confused whether we have to use hyphen or not, whether we have to combine them or should we use space. And there is no so much confusion as far as compound nouns are concerned. Then hyphenated, that means there should be a hyphen between two or three words like a self-esteem, there is a hyphen. Brother-in-law, mother-in-law, sister-in-law, and all in-laws, okay, there should be an hyphen, there should be an hyphen. Then if it comes to pluralization, like by boys, we know, we just add yes. Most compound nouns form their plurals like any other noun. So most of the compound nouns, they gets it gets plural by adding s at the end of the word, like a wheeler, dealer, wheeler, dealers. Washing machine, washing machines. Onlooker, onlookers. But there are some exceptions. Like now, sometimes what happens, you see here, single word. If it is a single word, add s at the end. There is a common rule. If it is single word, there is no problem, and we don't need to put a in between. We just add s. It's just like a common. Then if it is two words, then usually, even if it is two words, sometimes we put s at the end. But in rare cases, what happens, like, add s to the first word. Directors general, director general. And there are no two generals. There are two directors, or three directors, or five directors, not generals. So directors is main word. Okay, general is a kind of adjective. It is not adjective, actually it is a kind of adjective. It is saying what kind of director it is. So directors general, plural of director general is director general, directors general. Then hyphenated. Hyphenated means usually yes comes to the first word, but whereas see here, wheeler, dealer, we don't say wheelers, dealer, because dealers are many, not wheeler. Dealers are many. There are two dealers, five dealers, six dealers. In the same way, see, you have to be in a little bit logic. If we say brother-in-laws, don't say brother-in-law, because law is one only, but brothers are many. So brothers-in-law, mothers-in-law, sisters-in-law, not sister-in-laws. Like that, sometimes it becomes again a confusion as far as pluralization is concerned. But once you get to understand the logic behind using who is more, is it a brother or law? Law is just one, brothers-in-law. Okay, in the same way, director general, who is two, is it a director or general? Directors are two, then we say directors general. Wheeler, dealer, who is more than one? This is dealers, then wheeler, dealers. Washing machine, washing here is an adjective. So adjective and noun is brought together. So washings, it cannot be washings, it can be machines, can be more. So washing machines. Onlooker, okay, it's a pronoun and verb. So lookers are more, so onlooker. So with such logic, it becomes very easy for us to form plurals from compound nouns, and there need not be any confusion at all. Then let's go to forming compound nouns. How compound nouns are formed? Compound nouns can be made up of various types of combinations. That is noun plus noun, like school bus, bedroom. See hyphen and space. You have to be very careful. There is a space between school and bus, but whereas bedroom, there is no space. Shoelace. These are all two nouns brought together. Then adjective plus noun. Blackboard, green board, high school, space. Poor loser, redhead, there is no space. Then verb place noun. Swimming pool, washing machine, then noun place verb. Haircut, hair cut. Okay, hair is noun, whereas cut is verb. Snowfall, airlift, noun place adjective. Attorney general, general is adjective. Poet laureate, then word plus preposition plus word. So why word plus word means there it can be any word. Free for all, free adjective, all is a determiner. Free for all, for is preposition. That's why word plus preposition plus word. Mother-in-law, word of mouth. So this way we can form compound nouns. And then countable nouns and uncountable nouns. It's very easy. That which can be counted, such nouns can have singular or plural. So nouns that can be counted with your finger are called countable nouns, like brother, and it has plurals as well. Brother, brothers, city, cities, mouse, mice, like that. Whereas uncountable nouns, you cannot count with your fingers. For example, They can be concepts, they can be substances, etc., which can't be counted because they can't be divided into separate individual elements. You cannot divide them into separate pieces. For example, water. Water is a substance. Okay, it is a liquid. Milk, bread, oil, etc. These are all uncountable nouns. And uncountable nouns can, however, be quantified with the addition of countable nouns. But we can make it quantifying. We can make it countable by adding something like a glass of water, 2 glasses of water, a cup of tea, 1 liter of milk, 2 loaves of bread, 3 bottles of oil. Like that, we can quantify them, and we can have plural to the quantifier. Okay, 2 glasses of water, not waters again. 1 liter of milk, 2 liters of milk, 2 loaves of bread, 1 loaf of bread, 2 loaves of bread, like that. Then now we'll come to pronoun. Okay, nouns we have completed. Now we have pronoun. A pronoun is a word that is used instead of a noun or noun phrase. So pronoun, what is pronoun? It is a word which represent a noun, or which is used instead of noun. Every time we don't say Prasad, my name is Prasad, but I never say myself. Okay, actually, your names are not for yourself. It is for others. You never call yourself by your name. You say I. Okay, even when you are introducing yourself, you don't say Prasad, my name Prasad. You don't say. You simply say I am Prasad or my name is Prasad. You never call yourself Prasad. You never call yourself by name. So there are different types of pronouns like personal pronouns, possessive pronouns, reflexive pronouns, intensive pronouns, relative pronouns, interrogative pronouns, demonstrative pronouns, indefinite pronouns, okay, reciprocal pronouns. Let us try to understand each pronouns one by one. First one, personal pronouns, represents a person or a thing, can be the subject of the verb, object subject of the verb or object of a verb. It can be both. For example, subject of the verb means it appears in the subject position. For example, I, first person. Okay, again, these pronouns are divided into first person, second person, third person. First person means by what you are called yourself. Okay, suppose I want to say something about me, I say I. I don't say by name, by my name. So this is first person. And to whom you are speaking in front of you, that is second person. You never call somebody if he is in front of you. You say, "No, how are you?" You don't say, how is Prasad? If you are talking to Prasad, you don't say how is Prasad. You say how are you, because he is in front of you. Okay. And who do you call by name? A person who is not in front of you, he is somewhere. Okay, you want to speak something about him. Okay, yesterday I met Prasad. Yesterday I met Prasad. You are telling to somebody in front of you. Okay, and I met him, and I gave him my book. I gave him my book. I gave him. This is object position. In object position, he becomes him. In the same way, subject position, object position. I, we, you. We is first person. You is second person. He, she, it, they is third person. The same way, objective pronouns. Me, us, first person. You is second person. Him, her, it, them. Same. It is it. It doesn't change. Even you is you. It doesn't change in objective position. So they are objective positions. Then possessive pronouns. Possessive means shows ownership. You say it is mine. It is mine. The book is mine. It's ours. It's yours. His, hers, its, theirs. These are possessive pronouns. Then reflexive pronouns. Reflexive means reflection means mirror. Okay, in the same way, when you are in front of the mirror, what you see? You see yourself. You see yourself. He see himself. I see myself in the mirror. Understand? So, serves as object of a verb when the subject and object refer to the same noun. And for example, I see myself. I and myself both are one and the same. They are referring to same person, and this myself, ourselves, they are in the objective position. Myself, ourselves, plural. yourself, yourselves, plural. Himself, himself, it should be herself, itself, themselves. Okay, like that. They are all in the objective position. I did it to myself. See here, myself and I both are same. The cat scratched itself. These are same. Then intensive pronouns. There is a slight difference between intensive pronouns and reflexive pronouns. Both, as far as forms are concerned, they are both one and the same, but there is a slight difference. I'll tell you what is that. Emphasizes a subject. Okay, it emphasizes a subject. Okay, for example, myself, ourselves, yourself, same structure is same, but as far as structure is in the sentence they differ. Like I myself did it, and myself is in the subject portion. I myself did it. I did it myself. I did it myself. Sheila herself bought the car. Sheila bought the car herself. Okay, actually, this herself has no meaning as such. It is only emphasizing. I myself. Nene చేశాను. I myself did it. She herself did it. ఆమె చేసింది. Okay, like that to only to emphasize, but there is no meaning. Even if it is not there, sentence can exist. I did it. Sentence can exist. Whereas I did to myself. If myself is removed and sentence is incomplete. Okay, it is myself. If you cannot remove myself, myself is essential there. So whereas if reflexive pronouns are essential words, intensive pronouns are not essential and they only used for emphasis and they can be removed as well. Then relative pronouns introduces a class which adds more information. Who, whom, whose, like this is a car which she bought. In relative means it changes from sentence to sentence. Here, which means car. It can be a bicycle in other sentence. That's why it is called relative pronoun. A relative pronoun which refers to the word which precedes that. Okay, I saw the person who is standing there. Who refers to person. Like that. This is a relative pronoun. Interrogative pronouns means introduces a question. Who, whom, whose, which, WH type of questions. Which car did she buy? So which refers to some noun. Demonstrative pronouns. Here we show, okay, this is a book. So this refers to something that we see. So these are also pronouns. This, that, these, those. Then indefinite pronouns. Indefinite means it cannot refer to any person. Refers to unspecified people or thing. Like for example, all, any, anyone, anything, each, everybody, everyone, everything, few, many, nobody, none, one, several, some, somebody, someone. These actually do not refer to anybody. Reciprocal expresses mutual actions or relationship like each other, one another. She and I like each other. It's a mutual. Okay, both. Reciprocal. Reciprocal means both. I think I have made some points clear in this video, and we'll continue these parts of speech further in the next videos. Thank you very much. Okay. And please subscribe to my channel. Please like, subscribe, and share my videos. And also don't forget to click on bell icon. Thank you very much.